Hi everybody, and welcome to the Nationally Competitive Scholarships Wednesday workshop. Today we are going to be looking at public policy scholarships. So I'm going to give everybody a second to get settled in. It looks like we have a few people joining us so far. Nice to see everybody, sort of. It's weird to see you kind of populating from the bottom. But anyway, again, thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking a little bit about public service and public policy scholarships. So these types of scholarships are really for so many of you out there who just want to make the world a better place. The U.S. government and a lot of funding agencies realize that for those of you who do have those goals, finding funding for that can be a little bit difficult. So they are offering a number of different scholarships, both for international opportunities, but also domestic opportunities. And we hope that we can talk about a few today that may help you find one that you're interested in. Before I get started, my name is Dr. Lynn. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Research and Engagement, and I oversee the Nationally Competitive Scholarships Office here at UNG. A quick word about our office. A lot of you who are joining us so far already know what our office does, but we are here to help students find the scholarships that will work for them. So we're recruiting candidates, but more than that, we're also helping our candidates identify the types of scholarships that they're really well suited for and that they'll be competitive for. Once we find a few that you may like, the next step in the process is actually the application. This is probably everybody's favorite, absolute favorite part. You can send up a clap or a high five or a heart if it is. I'm being totally facetious. I think this is the probably least favorite part, but that's the writing part. So that's another thing our office is pretty famous for, is we help you with drafting the application. We know what makes a competitive student, and so we give you lots and lots of feedback. It's like a conversation on the page, pretty much, helping you figure out the best way to sell yourself to the funding agency and make sure you're showing them all the great things about you that make you perfect for the scholarship. A couple of other things that we provide as support through the process. We're notorious for having you come in and actually submit in our office. We're there with you every step of the way. And if there is some sort of interview preparation that you need, we can also do that. So we're sort of a one-stop shop and mentoring opportunity to help you prepare for these different scholarships. So we'll come back to a few other major pointers later, but I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the public policy scholarships that are available and that are out there. One of our favorites is the Truman Scholarship. This is our nation's first and foremost public policy scholarship named after Harry S. Truman. It is a pretty large one and a very competitive one. UNG can only nominate a limited number of students every year, so even applying for this scholarship and getting started on it is a really big deal. And even if you end up not winning the national scholarship, simply being a nominee from UNG is something that you can put on your resume. The Truman Scholarship is usually due in early February, and it's really focused on students who want to be change agents. They can identify something in the world that's not quite right, and they can identify ways that they want to make it better. So the application process for it actually does include a policy statement where you tell us what you think could be changed and how it could potentially be better in the future. It really is public service focused, and that's because this scholarship is going to give you $30,000 for graduate school to pursue your public policy dreams. It also includes a great weekend called the Truman Scholars Leadership Weekend, where you meet with other like-minded students all the way across the U.S., and you get to know them and know what their passions are and work with them to help them achieve their passions as well as yours. There's also a summer after you graduate where you get to go to DC and do an internship, which is really, really awesome. So not only is the scholarship giving you $30,000 for grad school, it's also giving you networking opportunities and potential employment opportunities as well. So sounds awesome. How do we apply? This one is typically due, like I said, in early February. To be competitive for this scholarship, you need to be a junior or a third-year senior. So for this coming year, you would need to be graduating in May 2022. That's the junior that we're looking for, so someone who's coming into their junior year this fall. You do need to be in the upper 25% of your class, and it's a really good idea to have some community service and some leadership in your background. That's what they want to see, that you are going to be that change agent and be able to lead change. I'm going to stop here for just a second to see if there are any questions from anyone. I think Mandy has joined us as well and is looking for questions. Okay. I'll keep going then. So that's the first one we wanted to talk about, the Truman Scholarship. And do feel free as I'm talking to throw up any questions or comments that you have. I see a couple of emojis, which is nice. That way I know I'm not talking to an empty screen. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to stop me. And I will remind everybody, we are also working from home, obviously, but working. So if you'd like to make an appointment with any of our fellowship advisors, please feel free. We can meet you on Teams, or we can talk by phone. So another awesome public policy scholarship that we like for students to think about is the Newman Civic Fellows Scholarship. And we call it a scholarship, but it actually doesn't come with any money. However, again, kind of like the Truman, it's a great networking scholarship and a great starter scholarship. The Newman Fellow Scholarship is cool because we can only have one student from UNG represent UNG every year. So it's due in November. It's an internal application, so this is one where we won't be able to help you with because we help with the selection process. But for it, again, they're really looking for change makers, they're looking for leaders, they're looking for students who have a passion to really bring positive change. Oh, okay, we did have one question. Any tips on the policy proposal for Truman? So let me go back to that for just a second. So the policy proposal for Truman is one page. The largest tip for that is to be specific to your own interest and be specific to your local area. I think one of the hangups with it is we want to make the big changes, right? We want to go for the large scale changes, something on the national level. To make a successful argument for the type of change that you want to see, it's going to be better to focus on the local level, and that could be county, it could be city, it could be state, but not quite at the larger level. That also allows you to really argue your point. So the more narrow you can make it, the better. In terms of public policy proposal, it's really what your platform is. So when you're thinking about positive social change, are you thinking about the environment? Are you thinking about voting rights? What types of things are you thinking about? Are you thinking about, we've had a student who's worked in domestic violence before. So education is another area that is typically seen in public policy, or maybe it's something in terms of healthcare. So think about what your passion is, where you've shown some leadership, where you've done some community work, and what did you see? What is something small that we could do a better job with? That's kind of the starting place. And I'll pause for a second to see if there are any follow-ups to that one. I'm excited to see we do have some interest in the Truman. UNG had its first ever Truman Scholar 2 years ago, John Blessing. We were very excited to have the Truman Scholar from Georgia. The Truman Scholarship selects a little over 50 students every year, so it's typically about one per state. But again, UNG students are very competitive for this. John was the second finalist that we've had in our first winner, so I'm excited to see more. Okay. So I'll switch gears back to the Newman, and again, the Newman is one where students are selected. We can only select one student from UNG to represent us. For the Newman Fellowship, we do send you to the Newman Conference, so it's a great way to network, to get to know other people. And I think I may have seen our current Newman Fellow sign in to the live. That is Kat Torres. So woohoo, congrats Kat for being our Newman Fellow for this year. The Newman Fellow also comes with a mentorship opportunity where you identify a mentor in the community who can help you grow. So we see the Newman as a great way to keep growing and to keep moving towards your final goals. Okay, another question. What makes a student stand out as a Newman Fellow? A lot of what we see that makes a student stand out as a Truman is also true for the Newman. Funny that they rhyme, but that's something where a student is really focused on policy, really focused on positive change, and has been doing some leadership and some community service for that change. So again, it doesn't mean that you have gone out and started your own platform or something. You could be working alongside student government. You could be working alongside the MSA or the LSA or another group on campus. So it's showing that leadership and showing that you have been involved in making some potential positive changes that will positively impact the campus community. I think of the Newman as being a little bit more campus specific, whereas our successful Trumans have tended to move some of that leadership and policy beyond the campus. But really for Newman Fellow, looking for leadership. Are graduate students eligible for either the Truman and the Newman? Excellent question. Yes. Graduate students are eligible for the Newman Fellowship. The Newman is open to any student at UNG. Preference is given to students who are not seniors or in their last year at graduate school. However, there is sort of a weird situation where if you are an undergrad at UNG and you're planning to go to grad school at UNG, that goes away because you will be continuing being a student. They do show a slight preference for undergrads, but we have had graduate students selected as our Newman Fellow before. Again, it just depends on the application field and the type of applicant. So yes, definitely graduate students are eligible for the Newman Fellowship. And I could see some of our students who are in the nursing program or the counseling program being really good applicants for that. Okay. So we've talked about a couple of sort of general ones, and one thing to note is we do see almost a pipeline. We see a lot of our Newman scholars become potential Trumans in the future. I love the Newman Fellowship because we get applications from students who might be first-year students, and they look like they're on the right track to the Truman, and so we can go ahead and chat with them early on and get them thinking about how the Truman long-term might fit for them in terms of public policy. That's another note. It is never too late to come by our office, or our virtual office right now, and to get started on scholarships, no matter where you are, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, graduate student, alumni. We work with everybody, and there is a scholarship for everyone. A note, again, a lot of times there may not be the exact scholarship for your exact program. So we may not be able to get you the exact funding for the exact graduate program you want. But one of our goals a lot of times in the office is to find scholarships that can sweeten your resume, that can make your application package stand out. So as you're applying to those programs, perhaps internal funding is then offered to you, be it from UNG or be it from another graduate school at another institution. Sorry, there's a fly buzzing around, distracting my attention. This is why live is so much fun. But again, first year to graduate student to alumni, we'd love to see you and love to talk about what options might work for you. So we've talked about two that are fairly general in terms of public service, and I wanted to now kind of broad it out into the really, really broad, the really, really specific. So in addition to those, there are just a ton. And I'm not going to go over all of them here today because I don't think this is quite the platform. It'd be easier if I had our PowerPoint behind us, but maybe more boring. Also, in addition to these sort of broad ones, there are some super specific ones. One that we had a student as a finalist for this year was the Emerson Hunger Fellowship. That fellowship is for students who are graduating or very recent graduates who are interested in eliminating hunger. It's a really, really neat scholarship. You get to actually go and work with a larger group that is dedicated to hunger eradication to learn how to grow your own skill set and hopefully take that learning back to your local community. So again, it's a very, very specific sort of scholarship for public service, again, eradicating hunger, but a really neat one as well that I could see a lot of our students really getting into. Another one is the FAO Schwartz Fellowships. These are also centered around public policy, and it's a constellation of different fellowships with different institutions. So yes, the FAO Schwartz, the toy company, is the one in charge of it, but they're partnering with a lot of local organizations throughout the country. Some of those are focused on literacy. Some of those are focused on other policy needs. So that's another one where if you have a specific public interest that you're after, you might find just the right fellowship there. And these, again, are fully funded. Do we have anybody in international affairs joining us today? I've seen a few of you all. That's probably where we see most of our public policy opportunities. There are a number of scholarships that are geared towards sending students abroad or preparing students to go abroad in the service of international public policy. So a lot of you know the study abroad scholarships we work with, and we have a few other live calls later in the summer on those, but things like the Gilman, the Boren, we do kind of see this as public service. They're geared towards sending students abroad, but they're preparing you for potentially entering public service. Again, it's the government giving you money saying, hey, look how great we are, come and help us, work for us, right? So again, it is sort of this public service. But after that, there are a few others. There's the Public Policy and International Affairs And that is a couple of different scholarships. In the fall, they have a few really nice conferences where students can go and learn about international affairs. Some of these are funded, some of these are not funded. But then they also have the PPIA summer for junior year, where you can apply to spend the summer learning about international affairs. With that, also, if you are selected for it, the institutions that are part of PPIA have a special scholarship. So if you're selected for that summer program, you actually have tuition reduction when you get a master's degree to pursue public policy. So they're really looking for people who want to long-term work overseas for the U.S. government. Another is the Wrangle Summer, very similar to PPIA. We have had one Wrangle Summer so far. We've had a few finals for it, some alternates for it. The Wrangle Summer is another one where you get to go to DC for the summer and learn all about public policy, international affairs. You get to meet with the movers and shakers, all of that. So it's another really, really neat scholarship. And then long term, and this is where some grad students might be interested, there are 3 scholarships, the Wrangle, the Pickering, and the Payne, that fund students up to $30,000 to do a master's degree and to eventually become either a foreign service officer or an officer for the USAID. So again, another opportunity for those of you who long-term want to do public service to get the training that you need, to get the master's that you need to become a foreign service officer and go overseas and serve our country and help build relationships between our country and other countries. So I know that is a lot, and if you are on this call in international affairs and interested in any of this, please do make sure you make an appointment with us so we can walk you through. Like I said, we're just giving you a taste of some of the public policy scholarships today, and we'd be happy to talk through any of them as you figure out one that's really interesting to you. So I'll pause right here to see if there are any other questions, and then I'm going to talk about one more, I think. Okay, so the last one I want to talk about in terms of public policy is one that I'm sure you've all heard me talk about before, and that's the Fulbright. It is my absolute favorite scholarship because it is open for every student. I do think of it as public policy based because you are becoming an ambassador for the U.S. essentially for a year. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Fulbright, and I know that there are a couple of students on the call who are already applying for it, the Fulbright is open to students who are graduating or students who have graduated. So again, graduate students, you are welcome to apply. You can apply for a Fulbright up until you have your PhD in hand. This scholarship funds you to go to one of about 150 countries, fully funded, to either teach English, do research, or potentially earn a master's. And I think there are 1 or 2 PhDs that are funded as well. So it's a really, really big scholarship. It's not specific to any discipline whatsoever. We've had students in chemistry, biology, international affairs, languages, kinesiology, just all across the board. We've had students from all majors, I think, apply for and be successful. As I hope you all know, UNG is a Fulbright top producer. We're super proud of that. UNG students do amazing at these scholarships, and we want to keep helping you apply for them. So the Fulbright, like I said, is very, very broad. Any major that you're in, I think you do have an opportunity with it. And it is public policy in the sense that you are getting to go abroad, getting to work in local communities. A lot of the funded research projects that are done are research projects that are promoting mutual understanding between countries. So I would love to have more students think about it and apply for it. We have, I think, about 20 UNG students working on applications currently. So if you plan to graduate from your undergrad degree by August 2021, this would be your year to apply for the Fulbright and to think about either teaching abroad or doing research abroad. If you're a master's student, you can at any point in your master's program, so long as it's kosher with your major professor and your department chair, take a break, do the Fulbright for a year. When I did my Fulbright many, many years ago in Taiwan, I took a year off from my PhD program to collect data. So it is something that is doable. We tend to see more students who are applying for the Fulbright right after graduating. But again, we work with a lot of alumni too who maybe have been out for a year or two and just want to try something new and feel like this might be the right thing. Because the Fulbright is internationally recognized, it can really kind of catapult you to a lot of opportunities that you may not have been aware of. And I find that students who come back from the Fulbright a lot of times have shifted career directions and maybe found some other opportunities that they didn't previously know about. So the Fulbright is the one today that's a little time sensitive. If you do want to apply for Fulbright, do reach out to us as soon as possible. The Fulbright deadline, our internal deadline, is September 1st. So that is just a very, very quick overview of a lot of the public policy types of scholarships that we have. Again, there are very, very, very many. And what we do as an office is when you come and meet with us, we'll think through which scholarships are right for you. We'll set up a plan of which ones you might apply to which year. We do like for students to apply for more than one scholarship where possible and appropriate, but it's always up to you what you want to apply for. So a couple of tips before I hang up for the day. Next steps, obviously, is to contact us, please. We're here. We love meeting with you all. It makes us feel like we're back on campus, even though it's in a virtual world. What does it take to earn these scholarships? The big thing is a lot of patience and a lot of hard work. So just really doing a lot of drafts, that can take a toll on you. But again, our office is here to support you with those drafts and to give you feedback along the way. You need to have confidence in yourself. We believe in you. We have confidence in you, but you also have to have that confidence and go all the way to hitting submit. Another thing that is very helpful is community service and leadership. So those of you who already have some of these leadership opportunities, if you're serving as an executive officer in a club, if you're in student government, that's great. That is great for these scholarships. If you haven't, maybe think about taking a leadership position in the next year or so. Any type of community service, fantastic. That also helps. And then finally, I wanted to mention GPA. While a good GPA is always helpful, a lot of the scholarships that we work with don't have a GPA requirement. And so we tend to think if we can tell your story, maybe if your GPA isn't as high as you want it to be, if we can tell the story of why, it's not going to be a concern. I would note the Fulbright has absolutely no GPA requirement. That's not anywhere in the Fulbright mission. So the first step, again, is having the confidence to chat with us. Some application tips are contact us early. So if you're watching this and you have any inkling that, hey, this might be for me, do send us an email at ncs@ung.edu. Mandy, will you please type that in if you're still on here? That will help. You're welcome to contact us there and we can get you set up with one of our amazing fellowship advisors. So myself, Dr. Victoria Hightower, or Dr. Catherine Quinto, we're all here to help and support you. And then focus on the process. That's the last thing I would say. Think about the long term. So yes, the sad news is we don't always win every scholarship that we apply for. But the better news is that we get better with each single scholarship that we apply to. And we see a lot of students maybe not win their first or second, but the third or fourth, they do. And sometimes it's the third or fourth to the same scholarship. We've seen students apply for Fulbright years in a row and eventually get it. So we do build resilience. We want you to think about what you gain in learning how to write those applications. So before it scrolls off my screen, Natalie, thank you for the shout out. Natalie currently works in our recruitment office at UNG, and I feel like she is our recruiter in a lot of ways. So thank you very much. And yes, please do come visit us. Again, the earlier the better, and focus on the process. Come in, let's get some writing done. So I think that is just about it. I'll pause to see if anybody has any more questions. And Mandy did leave our scheduling link on this chat as well at the bottom. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for coming to our live today. Again, bottom line, give us a shout out, contact us. We love working with you. And it's, I have plants here. These are my coworkers at present. So I'd love to talk to you all. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next Wednesday for our next Wednesday workshop. Take care. Bye.